My name is Margaret Collins. I am 62 years old, living in Austin, Texas. I've been a widow for 8 years now, after losing my husband to a sudden heart attack. Life has been quiet but comforting. I work as a school librarian, a job I've loved for decades because it allowed me to connect with young minds and lose myself in the beauty of stories. My days usually start early, with a cup of tea on the porch, watching the sun rise over the quiet streets. I have 2 children, Emily, age 36 year, and Daniel, age 32 year. Emily is a spirited, ambitious woman who works as a graphic designer in the city, always chasing new projects and ideas. Daniel is a calm, practical man who works in IT and prefers the simpler, slower pace of our hometown. As a mother, I've always tried to be present for them, celebrating their successes, comforting them in disappointments, and quietly supporting them in every way I could. I believed family was everything, the anchor of life, and I had devoted myself entirely to my children after my husband passed away. Life wasn't always easy, but the 3 of us, my children and I, had a rhythm that felt safe. The weekends were usually spent cooking together, sharing old stories, or watching movies in the living room. I prided myself on knowing that my home was a place of comfort, a sanctuary where my children could always come back, no matter what challenges life threw at them. But little did I know, life was about to teach me a harsh lesson, one that no amount of love or care could have prepared me for. It was an ordinary Thursday morning. I had just brewed my usual cup of chamomile tea and settled into my favorite armchair with a book when my phone pinged with an email notification. The subject line read, "Mum, don't come to my wedding." My heart stopped. I blinked and reread the line, thinking perhaps I had misunderstood. It was from Emily, my daughter, the same girl whose hand I had held through every heartbreak and challenge, had written to me that she didn't want me at her wedding. "Watch through livestream," she added casually at the end of the email. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I sat there, frozen, staring at the words that seemed so cold, so deliberate. I reread the email several times, hoping the meaning would change, but the words remained the same. Emily, my little girl who I had raised with every ounce of love I had, did not want me at one of the most important days of her life. The room felt suffocating, and for the first time in years, I felt an unfamiliar sense of rejection that burned deep inside me. I tried to calm myself, sipping tea that now tasted bitter. Questions flooded my mind. Had I done something wrong? Was there something I had said or done to hurt her? I felt my chest tighten with anxiety, confusion, and a deep, gnawing sadness. I had given my life to them, yet here was a moment where my presence, my love, seemed unwanted. For hours, I couldn't move from the chair. The sunlight streaming through the window seemed dimmer somehow. My mind replayed every memory I had with Emily, the school projects I had helped her with, the late-night talks about boys, the times I stayed awake waiting for her to come home from college safely. How could she possibly think she didn't need me at her wedding? I kept rereading the email, each time hoping a hidden meaning, a reason, would appear. Nothing. The words were simple, almost cruel in their clarity. Don't come. Watch online. No explanation, no apology, no acknowledgement of my feelings. I felt my throat tighten as the tears I had held back for years began to pool in my eyes. Confusion mixed with disbelief. I tried calling her, but each time I was either ignored or told, "Mum, I'm busy. Please don't interfere." It was as if the daughter I knew so well had been replaced by someone unrecognizable, someone cold and distant. I felt an ache I hadn't felt in decades, a betrayal so deep that it seemed impossible to recover from. The foundation I had believed in all my life, that family would always embrace you, that love was enough, felt suddenly fragile, almost shattered. After the initial shock, I gathered enough courage to call Emily again. My voice trembled. "Emily, I just want to be there. It's your wedding. Please let me be part of it. Her reply was brief, clipped, almost rehearsed. Mum, I need space. I've asked you to watch online. That's final. I couldn't believe my ears. The little girl I had nurtured and loved, the one who had once crawled into my lap crying over scraped knees or broken friendships, was now shutting me out, firmly and unapologetically. I tried reasoning, pleading, explaining my feelings. Emily, I'm your mother. I've raised you. This day, it's important to me too. Her voice was calm, distant, almost cold. Mum, I know you mean well, but I need to do this my way. And with that, the call ended. I sat there, phone in hand, heart pounding, tears streaming silently. I realized this wasn't just a moment of sadness. It was a turning point. Emily wasn't inviting me, not out of forgetfulness or carelessness, but by choice. The betrayal was deliberate, and it cut deeper than anything I had imagined. That night, I sat by the window, staring out at the quiet streets of Austin, feeling an emptiness I hadn't known before. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions: sadness, anger, confusion, disbelief. Should I respect her wishes or assert myself? Should I try to attend anyway and risk confrontation, or stay back and silently endure the pain? For hours, I wrestled with myself. Every memory of raising Emily clashed with the reality of her rejection. I remembered the sacrifices I had made, the nights I stayed awake comforting her fears, the times I had gone without to ensure she had the best opportunities. And yet, none of that seemed to matter now. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to fall into despair or gather the courage to stand tall. I realized that this was bigger than Emily's wedding. It was about my own sense of self-worth, about knowing when love had to come with boundaries. I whispered to myself, I can't let this break me. I deserve respect, even from my own child. The first seeds of strength began to take root, slowly but steadily, as I decided I would face this betrayal with dignity, not despair. The next morning, I felt the need to share my pain with Daniel, my son. He had always been the calm voice in the family, the one who could see things clearly when emotions clouded my judgment. I found him in the kitchen, sipping coffee, scrolling through emails. My voice trembled as I spoke. Daniel, Emily doesn't want me at her wedding. She emailed me this morning, I said, holding back tears. Daniel put down his mug, his face hardening with concern. What? Mum, that's harsh. Are you sure it's not a misunderstanding? I shook my head. I read the email 5 times. She said she wants me to watch through livestream. No explanations, nothing. She doesn't want me there at all. He sighed and walked over, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. Mum, I know you've given your life to raise them. But Emily, she's making a mistake. You shouldn't let her use your love as a tool to control the situation. His words hit me. I realized that for too long, I had believed that being a good mother meant always sacrificing, always giving, never questioning. But now, the same child I had nurtured seemed to want to push me away, to erase my role in a milestone of her life. Daniel's calm presence gave me the courage to think clearly. Mum, you deserve to be treated with respect. You've been strong through so much, and this doesn't define your love or your worth, he said firmly. I nodded slowly, feeling a mix of sadness and newfound determination. It was true. I had spent decades caring for them, yet this wasn't about love alone. Respect mattered. And if I didn't stand up for myself now, who would? By the end of that conversation, I knew one thing. I couldn't allow this betrayal to diminish me. It was time to make a choice, a decision that would assert my dignity without compromising my love. After days of emotional turmoil, I made a decision that was both painful and empowering. I would cancel the wedding gift payment I had meticulously prepared for Emily. This was a small, tangible act, yet it symbolized something far greater. I would not let my love be manipulated or my presence used merely as an obligation. I sat at my desk, pen trembling in my hand, as I called the bank to cancel the transfer. The process was mundane, but each click and confirmation felt like reclaiming a part of myself I had forgotten existed. That evening, I reflected on my choices. I could no longer pretend that this was just a minor conflict. This was a wake-up call, a reminder that my love for my children did not require self-erasure or silent suffering. I could love deeply, yet still protect my heart from exploitation. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of peace. I wasn't rejecting Emily out of anger. I was choosing dignity over being used. And in that choice, I discovered a quiet, steadfast courage I hadn't known I possessed. As word of my decision spread among relatives, the backlash began. Calls and messages flooded in. "Margaret, don't make this bigger than it is," one cousin warned, clearly irritated. Another said, "Emily is just setting boundaries. Why are you being dramatic?" I listened politely, but inside, I felt a strange mixture of anger and clarity. For years, I had been the caretaker, the peacekeeper, the one who smoothed over every dispute. But now, I realized that my silence in the face of disrespect was part of the problem. "I'm not being dramatic," I said calmly to my sister over the phone. "I'm simply standing up for myself. I will not allow my love to be used against me, even by my own daughter." This declaration, though small, felt revolutionary. For the first time, I wasn't bending to others' expectations. I wasn't seeking approval. I was asserting my right to be treated with respect, even if it meant standing alone. The days following were emotionally heavy. I spent long hours alone, walking through the quiet streets of Austin, feeling the ache of betrayal in every step. Memories of Emily flooded my mind, the small hands I once held, the scraped knees I had bandaged, the sleepless nights worrying about her future. And yet, despite these memories, I realized that love alone could not protect me from being hurt. Tears came freely now, not out of weakness, but out of recognition of the pain I had endured. I found myself journaling, pouring every raw emotion onto paper. Writing became a form of therapy, a way to release the sorrow without letting it consume me entirely. Slowly, the storm within began to calm, replaced by a quiet strength, a realization that my heart was resilient, even when wounded. Solitude became my sanctuary. I spent evenings reading books I had long neglected, walking through the park at dusk, and reflecting on my life. Each quiet moment reminded me that my worth was not defined by Emily's approval or anyone else's validation. I learned that protecting my heart didn't mean I loved less. It meant I loved wisely. I began to recognize the boundaries I had neglected for years, the moments when my kindness had been mistaken for weakness. In the stillness of my home, I finally understood. Strength isn't loud or aggressive. It's calm, steady, and rooted in self-respect. I was no longer the mother who silently endured. I was a woman reclaiming her dignity, her peace, and her right to be treated with love and respect. Finally, after days of silent grief and quiet reflection, Emily agreed to a video call. My heart raced as I answered. There she was on the screen, radiant and nervous, yet distant, as if a wall had grown between us over the past few weeks. "Mom?" she began, her voice shaky. I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. I didn't mean to hurt you. I wanted things my way, and I thought keeping distance would make it easier. Tears sprang to my eyes, and I reached toward the screen, as if I could close the space between us. "Emily," I whispered, my voice catching. "I understand you want your own way. But respect matters too. You can't push me away and expect our love to stay intact." She nodded, a few tears escaping her eyes. I know, Mom. I got scared of everything. The expectations, the eyes of everyone around us. I forgot how much you've done for me. I forgot that you're my mother, not just a guest. We talked for hours, unraveling months of unspoken frustrations and fears. I shared my feelings without anger, explaining that love without respect was hollow. She apologized genuinely, and I could feel the tension between us slowly dissolve. Though the wedding day couldn't be undone, our connection began to heal. By the end of the conversation, I realized that sometimes love requires patience, courage, and honesty. It's not just about being there physically. It's about being present emotionally, standing firm, and demanding mutual respect. After that call, I knew the next step was clear. I had to set boundaries. I explained to both Emily and Daniel that while my love for them was unconditional, I would no longer allow myself to be used or manipulated. "Mum?" Daniel said carefully. "What exactly do you mean?" "I mean," I replied, steady and calm, "that I will participate in your lives, but I will not allow anyone to treat me as invisible or secondary. I've spent decades giving and sacrificing, but now I must also protect my own heart." Emily listened, her eyes reflecting a mixture of shame and understanding. It wasn't easy for her to hear, but she nodded. By expressing my limits, I felt a sense of empowerment I hadn't experienced in years. I was no longer just a mother. I was a woman reclaiming her dignity, teaching my children that boundaries do not mean withdrawal. They mean self-respect. The day of Emily's wedding arrived. I sat in my living room, watching the live stream. My heart ached, but I also felt a quiet pride. Emily looked beautiful, radiant in her gown, smiling at Daniel with the joy that only true love can bring. I realized that even though I wasn't physically present, my love and lessons were woven into her life, guiding her in subtle ways. I felt no bitterness, only a calm satisfaction that I had handled the situation with integrity and grace. My heart was whole, despite the hurt, because I had not allowed anyone, family included, to diminish my sense of self-worth. In the days that followed, I reflected deeply on everything that had happened. I realized that love is not about endless sacrifice. It's about balance. It's about knowing when to give freely and when to stand firm. I learned that protecting your heart does not mean rejecting your loved ones. It means asserting your value, setting boundaries, and refusing to be treated as disposable. The betrayal, though painful, became a teacher. It reminded me that life's most important lessons often come wrapped in hurt, and that strength is quiet but undeniable. The experience taught me a truth I wish I could have shared with my younger self. You don't have to burn yourself to keep others warm. Respect yourself, even with family. Love wisely, with boundaries, and never forget your worth. If my story touched you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us of our strength, resilience, and the courage to stand tall in the face of betrayal.